Well, hello and welcome to another episode of More Perfect Marketing. David Baer here, and we are doing a new experiment. This is the live version of More Perfect Marketing. I'm here together with my good friend and business partner, Ken Cook, at the Prepared Group. And today we're going to talk a little bit about a concept that I think most small business owners are intimately familiar with, and larger business owners and business leaders have a familiarity with the concept in general, but for a different reason. So that topic is revenue roller coasters, or the idea that revenue is unpredictable, right? It's up one month, one period, down the next, and you're trying to figure out why. In small business, there's a very obvious reason. Ken's going to dig into that in a couple of minutes. In bigger businesses, there's lots of different reasons why this might happen. Either, it could be that you're in the midst of trying to figure out how to scale, and so that what worked in your previous iteration of your business doesn't work as well in the new iteration of the business. Maybe there's economic factors, internal or external economic factors going on that are impacting that. Maybe you have some operational inefficiencies in your business. And there's lots and lots of other reasons. Positioning of the product or the service that you're selling. Maybe the market you're selling into has tired of what you sell, but there's a brand new opportunity to sell into a different market, and you just haven't figured that out yet. And so there's many reasons why businesses struggle to see consistency in the revenue that they're bringing in. And that's what we're going to talk about today. This is a short version of More Perfect Marketing. We're going to try to cram as much as we possibly can into about 20-25 minutes. And so, Ken, I'm going to throw things over to you to start talking a little bit about where you and I started with this, which is in the small business space.
Thank you, David, for that great introduction. I think that this is a really important topic for a number of reasons. The biggest one is it impacts all small businesses. To a degree, I think it also impacts many divisions of larger companies, as you said. But I think that the biggest thing to realize is there is a cycle to business. I was talking to a couple of guys that I really, really respect, a number of whom you know last week. And these guys are brilliant marketing strategists. They work with very, very large organizations, and they've built about a $500,000 agency. And we were talking about their agency and what was going on therein. And it's really funny because I said, look, guys, are you on the roller coaster? And they said, yeah. And I said, but you guys know how to get everyone else off the roller coaster. And they said, yeah. I said, so why are you guys on it? Well, it's really hard for us to figure it out within our own business. And I think that is true for so many of us. Like, we know that we're on the roller coaster and it's hard to get out. And so I want to give you guys a little bit of a 2 or a 3-step guide to say, this is how we get out of the roller coaster. First, when revenue is kind of doing this and you're going up and down, the very first thing I think you have to do to get off the roller coaster is you really, really, really have to set aside typically 1 full day a week to work on the business. David, you and I did this, 4 years ago? 4.5 years ago?
Yep, we blacked out Fridays from our calendar. Nobody could invade that space.
And to this day, that's still the case. And it is one of the best decisions we've ever made because it gives us the space to do the work that we need to do. And that is not be ruled by the tyranny of the urgent, but to actually do the important, non-urgent work that creates stability. And so that's piece 1. Piece 2. I think we have to recognize that there is, especially in small business, this is less true in large business, there is no distinction between business operations and organizational sales and growth. And so here's what I mean. Most of the time, the roller coaster is caused by us saying, well, I don't have enough money. I need to go sell something. And so I'm going to go sell a whole bunch. And so we start pushing ourselves up. And then we get to this peak. And at this peak, we say, I am overwhelmed. I've got too much work to do. And so I'm going to stop my sales and marketing activity. And instead, I'm going to focus on digging myself out of this hole. Here's the problem. The second that happens, you crest the roller coaster and you start on your way back down. And the only way that I have ever been able to see to get off the roller coaster is you have to remove the very concept of we have too much work, we're overwhelmed, we need to stop selling. In big business, because of the divisional separations, that doesn't exist nearly as much, right? Where you can go and you can, we see this in manufacturing where they're going to manufacture, 1,000 widgets ahead, and they're going to just warehouse that in a very non-lean fashion. And the sales team has to catch up, or vice versa, right? Where they've got orders out 2, 3, 4, 6 months. But in a small business, and when sometimes it's the same person selling and fulfilling, that's really, really hard to do. And so there has to be a level of discipline that says sales and marketing is always a must. We can never stop our revenue generation. And if we try to stop our revenue generation, we know we're going to go back down in revenue in a place that we don't want to be. And so I think those recognizing and putting those two things into place first and foremost are the big key. I want to kind of give like a 2A. So it's not really a third point, but it's kind of a 2.5. Without clear sales pipelining, without a clear view into what does my sales pipeline, what is my ability to project revenue over the next 30, 60, 90 days look like, it is really, really hard to manage an organization. And the temptation to stop selling becomes really, really great because it just feels like overwhelm upon overwhelm upon overwhelm. And if you know, hey, look, over the next 90 days, I know we're at capacity. We're going to sell 4 more. It's really easy to say, okay, we're going to get somebody in for 10 hours a week and then 20 hours a week and then 30 hours a week. And then we've got a full-time person, and that's how we're going to work to that, to alleviate some of that pressure. And so I think that knowing and being able to forecast and project is not just a financial tool to say, well, how healthy is my business? But it really is an operational tool that says, what does my fulfillment side of this business need to look like?
I want to pause there before we talk about bigger businesses, and I'm not talking about enterprise business necessarily here. I'm talking about just larger operations where you don't have the same person doing everything. But I want to talk a little bit about, you saw this firsthand when the pandemic hit, and you had a routine right up until that point, and then you saw, oh, I have to figure out how do I adjust prospecting, and we saw a shift in our business like everybody did, as a result of the lack of ability to retain the same pattern and consistency that you had. Can you talk a little bit about like the practical application of this idea of pipeline and being consistent and making sure that it's always full, and what to do when you're just figuring out how to build this system in the first place?
Yeah. So in our book, The Prepared Marketing System, one of the things that we talk about is we talk about metrics frameworks and sales pipelining. And David did a really good job of making that sound a lot sexier in the book than I just did. Here's the deal. At the end of the day, we need to know a couple of things. We need to know how many leads do I need in order to get a sale, right? How many prospects, unqualified leads, do I need to get a qualified lead? If we know some of these basic numbers, which again aren't the funnest thing in the world to figure out, it allows us to say what is going to happen and what is going on here. And so we knew going up until the pandemic, we knew factually, without a question, for every 40 people we put in our pipeline, we spit out 1 or 2 to 3 sales over a 6-week period. That was just a fact. That was a fact, like breathing is a fact, like gravity is a fact. It was a fact. And one of the things that we've worked on for years as marketers is saying, how do I create that level of predictability? Because if I've got that level of predictability, it's really easy to grow. It makes me think of Ed Belding. He ran a pest control company, and we knew For him to make a $600 sale, it cost exactly $47.53. That's what it cost. And if he spent that money, he got that client in. That client came in. They paid an initial fee. He made about $5 and change on his first sale. And then 2 months later, when their contract, because they did buy every other month billing, when that next bill went through, that was when they hit profitability, like real profitability. And so we knew there was a 2-month lag between signing a client and money really coming in the door that they could spend. And so it was, I think, as COVID happened, one of the things it really revealed was who actually knows their numbers and who has the ability to pivot and say, okay, this channel is no longer available to me. I've got to figure out my numbers on a different channel. What do they look like? How do they work? How do I make sure that I'm still driving the business? And for a lot of people, I think COVID was a good thing, not in like a, everybody's dying sort of way, but in a, I've got the space and the forcing function to really think about my business. And I saw a lot of small businesses grow really effectively during that time frame because they were given the space, the time, and forced to do that. And so I think that's the biggest thing is you've got to know for each of these channels, what do I need to do? What do my numbers need to be? What are my averages? And once I have that, if I can just put in the workload, I'm good to go.
Yeah. All right. We could spend the rest of the time on this, but I do want to talk about what a larger organization looks like when it comes to this revenue roller coaster concept. And I threw out a whole bunch of different things there in terms of what could, possibly be behind it. Maybe we can zero in on one or two of those examples.
Yeah. There's one big thing that I have seen over and over and over in everything from larger small businesses to multi-billion-dollar enterprise. And that is sales development teams. Sales development teams are absolutely critical for this process. And so if there is not a sales development team, if there is not somebody whose job it is to get top of funnel leads, there is so much more variability. And
so this goes back to the sales pipeline thing that you were just talking about, but it's like making sure that there's always stuff in the pipeline is what I'm hearing.
It's more than that. Okay. And this connects to marketing in a very interesting way. It's not simply, hey, I've got a person whose job it is to go get cold prospects and warm them. It's that there has to be a feedback loop that goes from that person to the demand gen marketing person. Mm-hmm. If there's not, what I've seen happen repeatedly is there's a large body of leads that come in that will never and cannot be qualified. And so what happens is things look good on the surface, but as you dig down, there's a bunch of failure points that cause big, big problems. And so I think as we start to look into larger teams, it's not, hey, I need to have a sales process. They have a sales process. When you've got 3, 4, 5 salespeople, you by definition have a process. It's that there has to be feedback loops from sales to marketing that says, as a salesperson, this is the quality of lead that I am getting. Secondly, and this is arguably more important, and that's why I want to kind of close on this piece here. The role of marketing is not we're creating pretty pictures, we're creating interesting graphics. It's not even we're establishing organizational positioning, though they are. From this perspective, I think the big role of marketing is how do I enable my salespeople better tomorrow than I did today? How do I give them more tools? How do I give them more qualified people? How do I give them better assets? How do I help them preempt questions? How do I make sure that my salespeople are as ready as humanly possible? And I think that if we can do that, marketing makes this massive leap forward. And it's no longer, hey, we're the guys who are checking your documents for brand guidelines. Hey, that's not quite consistent. It's no, we're here, we're helping the organization generate revenue. We're not the gatekeepers of the keys of how does this look and feel. We are driving bottom line revenue through our sales team by telling them this person will close faster for more money, and here's the thing that you need to do to reach them more effectively.
So, to expand the concept that you've just shared here, I think it's something that's really at the core of a lot of what we talk about. Marketing plays roles in lots of different aspects of a business. And so you're talking about how marketing plays a critical role in supporting the sales process. But we also talk about marketing in places like operational activity
Mm-hmm.
and how a customer communication may happen, or even internal staff communications happen, are supporting a concept that is articulated through the marketing approach to a business. And so marketing plays a wider role than most
Yeah.
folks think.
One of the things I've said a lot, I feel like this goes in cycles, that I sometimes have to say this a lot. Everybody in the company is a marketer. Organizations are marketing and innovation engines. That's their job, is they have to market and they have to innovate. And if every employee, if every team member, if every partner doesn't have this perspective that says, I am here to position our company, I am here to create positive guest experience, I am here to make sure that people see us in a really positive light. When that fails to occur, it is a failure of the marketing department, largely to enable the team in total. And so I think there's a lot of responsibility on marketing that goes well beyond sales, in that I really think most organizations need to take a total war approach to marketing. Everybody is a marketer. Everybody is creating positioning, because there's no reality where we say, hey, I got an ad in the mailbox for XYZ My Pillow. Let's just take My Pillow. This was a really easy one. There's no reality where I get an ad for that, and Mike Lindell's antics on Fox or CNN or wherever don't play into how do I think about this company,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that depending on your perspective, that could be positive or negative. I don't know. It may be that, hey, it's really negative, but I really like this pillow, so I'm going to buy it anyway, and I'm going to hold my nose and do it. It could be, well, I really like this pillow, but because of his antics, I don't want to buy it. And there's a whole scope of things in there. But I think my goal is to say, one person on the team can create such a bad experience that guests are frightened away,
Mm-hmm.
or, and this is far more important, or can change somebody's life in such a way that they will become your biggest champion from now until the end of time.
Yeah. We experience this with some of our clients who we have a long-term relationship with, and we're the first one that they pick up the phone or send an email out to say, hey, we're dealing with this, because we've shown up in a way that surprised them
Yeah,
in a positive way, that they said, you are my go-to person from now on. And I think if we can find ways to instill that kind of a role in any business, it's a powerful position to be in that relationship.
totally. And I think as we think through this live here on this really fun episode of More Perfect Marketing, I think the thing to really focus on as a marketer is we're creating a team of people. Marketing is not a department that stands alone. It's a department that supports every other department, especially as the organizations get larger.
Hmm.
And I think that's the thing, is so much of what I've seen is, oh, marketing gets lost, or it kind of feels like it gets lost a little bit. But I think that loss is not an effective growth of the company. It's as more separation is created between the person interacting on the front lines and the marketing department. That's where that struggle starts to really happen.
Yeah. And just to add another layer to this, there's a lot of businesses where they don't have a team for sales and a team for marketing,
Yeah.
but they have one person who is in the role of marketing and trying to figure out, we often have talked about that person having a very narrow range of skills, and they were hired because the company thought we need somebody who does social media, or we need somebody who's a graphic designer, and they don't have the capability or capacity to do this. So it's not always on the shoulders of marketing entirely, as much as it's on the shoulders of the leadership of an organization to understand the opportunity that you've just laid out for them, and then figure out how do we get the right people in the right seats to be able to carry this out.
Yep. Exactly. I think you're spot on there.
So
Is
we could spend a lot more time on this topic, and if folks who are listening are interested in spending more time digging into these ideas in their specific business, we'd love the opportunity to chat with you. A really good first step is to grab a copy of that book that Ken shared earlier. It's called The Prepared Marketing System, and you can conveniently get it either on Amazon, or you can get a free PDF version of it by heading to thepreparedgroup.com/book. And I love your Vanna White there. That's a great job, Ken. So I think that wraps us up for today. Ken, thanks so much for hanging out with me. Really appreciate it.
always my friend.
Indeed, folks, you've been listening and or watching an extra episode of I haven't figured out what we're going to call this category, but the live stream version of More Perfect Marketing. If you know somebody who can benefit from listening or watching to this episode, please share this with them. Until next time, I'm David Baer. See you soon. Bye bye.